Welcome to the Heal Your Heartbreak podcast with your host, Breakup Bestie, aka me, Kendra. Breakups are hard, but you don't have to do it alone. Each week, I will be taking you through a different topic as it relates to breaking up, healing from heartbreak, growing in your single life, dating, and getting back into happier and healthier relationships. The goal of this show is to provide support, hope, tips, and to remind you that above all, this too shall pass. Hi guys, and welcome back to the Heal Your Heartbreak podcast. Okay, so into today's episode, I wanted to talk about social media. I think this is such a huge component of breakups in this day and age. And in a lot of ways, I think it probably makes breakups a lot harder than they used to be when you used to break up with someone and then, you didn't have to see them. You didn't have to see what they were up to. It was either you saw them or you didn't. But social media adds in this other crazy layer of things that we have to learn how to navigate after breaking up with someone. So we're going to run through today some of the downsides, which there are a lot, to looking at your ex's social media, how you can utilize social media after your breakup, and then what to do if you do end up looking, because, I have done it. I've done it probably through all of my breakups where I look at an ex's social media. So there are some things that you can do afterwards in order to learn and grow from it. The first thing is, let's talk about some of the downsides of looking at your ex's social media. You go through a breakup and you think, which I've done, I remember the last breakup I went through, I thought, I don't need to take them off social media. And actually, my ex rarely posted on social media. So I thought, I'll stay friends with him and then see where it goes. But what ended up happening is all of a sudden he decided to become some avid poster on Facebook. So I remember I was coming home from a trip, sitting in the airport. I saw a picture pop up on my newsfeed, immediately lost it, started sobbing. It threw me completely off guard. Just, seeing them literally doing anything without you is going to trigger a cascade of negative emotions. And one thing that I like to talk about here is how it is a complete lose-lose situation. What I mean by that, if you see your ex on social media, sappy, sad, posting emotional quotes or just really down and out, it's going to make you feel sad. It's going to make you miss them. It's going to make you think, maybe I should get back together with him. So that is not going to make you feel good. On the other hand, if you see him out and about, having fun, out with friends, living his best life, you're going to be pissed and you're going to feel sad too, because you're going to be mad that it appears that he is moving on so quickly. You're going to be sad because you're going to all of a sudden feel like you didn't mean anything to him, which is not true, by the way. So no matter how you slice it, looking at your ex's social media is not going to bring us positive emotions. So it really doesn't pay to look. And I think another factor of this is a lot of times after breakups, we as women then begin curating our social media towards our ex. So we start posting really beautiful photos, selfies. We want to be out having fun. We want to show that we're okay. So we begin curating what we're doing because we want our ex to see that we're doing well, which this is not a good idea either, because that means that every time you're out and want to take pictures or every time you are on your social media, they're in the forefront. They're taking up very precious emotional capacity in your mind because you are thinking, what would make them jealous? What would make them miss me? So regardless, I think you can tell by now that we really would in every way possible want to be able to keep our ex out of our social media experience after going through a breakup. The next thing is, how do we cut them out of social media? Eventually, in a perfect world, I think it's really important to get to a point where you can block them from social media, because no matter how much willpower someone has, including me, I would consider myself a super disciplined person. I'm very big on hitting goals, but I have no willpower looking at my ex's social media. It just does not exist. So I think at some point, just to take the temptation away, it's a very good idea to block. However, I wasn't able to do that at first. So going back to that story of me being in the airport sobbing because I see my ex post something on social media, I decided that I was going to unfollow, which I think that's a good place to start, because if you decide you want to look, at least you know what you're getting into. Whereas if they're not unfollowed and they're just popping up all over the place, it's really easy to be blindsided by something that they put up. So start with unfollowing. It actually took me about 5 months before I blocked. And I remember looking again. I was checking who his recently added friends were. I was looking at who was liking his picture, who was commenting on his picture, zooming in like crazy into the pictures that were posted, just insanity. And I thought, I can't do this. Like, this is, I had the thought in my head that this is really hindering my ability to let go. And it seems so trivial of just looking at what he's putting on social media, but it was really hindering my ability to let go. And I texted my girlfriend and I said, I just blocked him. And she said, how does it feel to get that 500-pound gorilla off your back? And it was this instant peace of mind and this instant freedom that came over me, because I was no longer chained to what he was doing. I no longer had to base my feelings on what he put out on social media that day. So there is it's going to seem really hard, but I just want you to know that once you get to that point, there's going to be tremendous freedom to letting that go and cutting that off and just getting rid of the temptation, because, when you block, at least on Facebook, you have to re-request to get back on with them. So, and then with blocking on Instagram, I know it's a lot easier to unblock. They don't have to know, but there are at least, you want to put as many obstacles in the way of looking at their social media as possible. And one thing that I did before I got to the point of blocking was, it was his birthday. And not only did I really want to reach out and wish him happy birthday, but I also really, really wanted to go on his Facebook and see who was wishing him happy birthday. So what I ended up doing was, I had my best friend change my Facebook password, and I said, do not tell me what the password is for a couple days. And that worked, because I wasn't able to look, and it prevented me from spinning in my head thinking that, a couple weeks after the breakup, he had some new girlfriend that was going to be posting on his Facebook saying, love you so much. I can't, so excited to be with you. So put as many obstacles in the way of looking at their social media as you can. Recruit your friends, have some accountability partners. I think that's huge. That way, you're committed to other people, what your plan is regarding social media. And bringing it back to what happens when we do look at their social media, there was this term that someone told me after my breakup called emotional cutting. And this, it's a pretty harsh term. However, it does perfectly describe what we're doing when we're looking. We, at least deep down, know that if we look, it's going to hurt. We might rationalize to ourselves and say, oh, I'm just curious. It's not going to hurt my feelings. I don't have any expectations. But deep down, we know that if we look, it's going to hurt really bad. So we're going into it knowing it's going to hurt, and we're doing it anyways. So we are emotionally cutting ourselves and causing ourselves pain. So keep that in mind when you're looking. And even if your logical brain is trying to rationalize to you and say, oh, this time it won't be that bad, I know what I'm doing, and at least go into it saying, I know this is going to hurt, but I'm choosing to do it anyways. And the reason that this is going to hurt your healing process in a couple ways is, number one, it's really, really hard to let go of someone if they're constantly in the forefront of our heads and our eyeballs when we're looking. And secondly, I've talked about this on, other episodes, but it's really important that we're doing a lot to raise our self-esteem and our self-worth after a breakup, because those tend to be really low. And if you are doing something to yourself consciously that you know is going to hurt, that's not very loving. That's not a demonstration to yourself of self-love. That's saying, I'm intentionally going to hurt your feelings by taking this action. So keep that in mind if you decide to end up looking. But for sure, unfollow, so at least you're looking on your own terms. And I pray that everyone gets to the point that they can block and experience that release and that peace that comes along with it. The next thing I wanted to talk about was just being careful of what you're consuming on social media in general. And, we've already covered the X, but just who you're following. This is not the time to be following couple goals accounts or, a bunch of wedding accounts and things like that. Social media can absolutely be used for good after a breakup. And, hopefully you guys are all following me and sharing advice, but there are a lot of other great accounts out there that talk about healing, and even some talking specifically about healing from breakups. But there are a lot of great empowering accounts that will make you feel less alone. And so really take an inventory of who you're following. I love, love, love the mute button. So you can mute for a little while where no one has to know you're unfollowing. And, obviously we want to still be able to be happy for friends that are in relationships. However, if you have a friend that's super sappy about posting her and her, partner on social media, it's okay to mute them for a little while. It's not like you are saying, I'm not happy for you. You're just protecting yourself. So the next time you are scrolling social media and something catches your eye and you say, ouch, that really hurts, take a look at the account and maybe see, should I be following them right now? Maybe not. And it's okay to unfollow or mute them for the time being. If you are looking for even more help and guidance on your breakup, you can get my step-by-step healing process using my courses. No matter where you might feel stuck in your breakup, there is a course for you. If your breakup just happened and you feel completely overwhelmed by the intense feelings, you can get all the tools to get started with my Breakup Emergency First Aid Kit. If you feel like you can't stop reaching out to your ex, checking their social media, or obsessing about them, you can get all the tools and accountability you need from Detox Your Ex. If some time has passed after your breakup, but you still feel like you can't let go of it, I can help you let go of your ex using my Breakthrough Your Breakup course. If you feel like you might be ready to start dating again, but you're scared to get hurt again or don't trust yourself to date yet, I will give you everything you need to feel confident moving forward in my Moving On After Heartbreak course. If you want all of these things to take you from beginning to end after a breakup, you can grab my signature course, Heal Your Breakup. All of my courses include videos from me, a workbook, and my breakup journal to help you feel supported and guided through this process. Head to the link in my show notes to take the quiz and find out which course is best for you so you can start moving on, healing, and feeling happy again. Now back to the episode. It's also okay to take a break from social media, and it might not be a bad idea. It's super easy to, we can unfollow or block our ex, but if a friend posts a picture of them, then that can send us into a whirlwind. So there are just a lot of opportunities to be triggered by that. And obviously we have to integrate back into the real world at some point, and eventually you probably are going to see pictures of your ex, but just in the beginning it's good to do everything that we can to protect our hearts and protect our feelings. So So it's okay to take a break from social media in general. It's something that I did for a short period of time after mine, and I found it to be really helpful. Not only will it prevent us from getting triggered by stuff, but it also gives us a good opportunity to really sit with our feelings. I think we all tend to drown out and zone out using social media. I still do. So cutting that out may not be a bad idea as well. And the last thing I wanted to cover is what to do if you do end up looking, because it's likely going to happen. I mean, I had my ex blocked and I still found ways to like look every once in a while. So it's likely going to happen, but there are definitely some things you can do to not utilize it as something shameful, but utilizing it as a experience to grow. So the first thing is take it as a learning experience. The last thing you're going to want to do is, so let me back up. Say you decide to look at your ex's social media. You know it's going to hurt. You decide to look anyways. You don't feel good afterward. Then you think, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that. Why did I do that? How could I be so stupid? So then you start layering shame onto it. Then you feel double bad. Like you're just adding on an extra layer of shame and guilt onto yourself. So take that second layer off. The first one already feels crappy. So do not shame yourself. That is the first thing. Don't keep it a secret. Tell someone that you looked. I guarantee everyone will be understanding because everyone has done it. So don't keep it in the dark. Don't use it as a thing to beat yourself up using, but use it as a learning experience. So tune in and think, what feelings were happening before I looked? Were you bored? Were you feeling lonely? Were you feeling powerless and you suddenly had this urge to feel like you were in some sort of control? So you thought, I have to look to give myself a sense of control. Were you PMSing? There are just so many things that can lead to us looking, but it is really important to take a look at what was the feeling that preceded it. So that way you can keep an eye out for it in the future and take a different action instead of looking or utilizing social media for that. The second thing is I want you to tune in and really pay attention to how you're feeling afterwards. And I even want you to write this down. I want you to write down, what did this bring up? How are you feeling now? And write that down and keep it on a note in your phone and send it to a friend. So keep it in a note in your phone and title it, before I look at whatever your ex's name is, social media, read this, as like a dear, basically like write a letter to your future self who wants to look, and let her know how it feels, and read that. And as an added precaution, you send it to a friend and say, hey, if I text you and let you know that I want to look at, whatever your ex's name social media is, can you please send this back to me? Again, this is adding extra layers of precaution and extra obstacles for you to get through before you go to look. This probably sounds really intense, and I'm going to touch on this in another episode, but the process that we go through after a breakup is a detoxing process. It is you detoxing this person from your life. And just like if someone is detoxing from drugs or alcohol, there are a lot of chemicals associated with relationships, with love, with affection. So you are literally going to be detoxing chemicals from your body. That's why breakups can really hurt. And again, I'll get into this in more depth on another episode. But every time you see them on social media, you are hindering that detoxing process, and you are kind of like, it's almost like a relapse. So it is really important, as much as possible, to not have to see them, hear them, talk to them for sure. And that's why I feel really passionate, is because most of the women that are coming to me are going or like have gone through a breakup months ago and they don't know why they're not feeling better. And one of the first questions I ask them is, are you still connected with them on social media? Are you still talking with them? Because that's one of the biggest hindrances that we have to getting over someone. So, as you can tell, I feel very passionate about this subject, but I can tell you it is so powerful. It is such an act of self-love to decide not to do something that you know is going to hurt you. That is a huge act of self-love. That is one of the best things that you can do to start raising your self-esteem, which as we go through a breakup, our self-esteem is going to go up. So you're just, expediting the process a little bit. So try out some of these tips and tools. Get yourself an accountability partner that you're going to let know, like, hey, I'm really committing to not looking. This is what I'm doing in order to do that. Can you support me in X or Y way? That's really powerful. And I bet any one of your best friends would be happy to do that for you. So try some of this out. Please don't look. Try to get to the block button at some point if you need to. And also, you can go straight to the block button if someone's not respecting your privacy. So, maybe you unfollowed, but you look at your Instagram stories and you see that your ex is looking at your stories every day. You're allowed to block them, because then you're like, anytime you post a story, you're like, oh, he's going to see it. That's not, a fun way to have them take up, again, precious emotional capacity in your head either. So you're allowed to block them because you don't want them seeing either. So try that out. I know it's not easy, but I promise you it does make a really big difference when you're going through a breakup. So trust me on that. Again, make sure to check out that crazy sale on Heal Your Breakup, the course. And again, if you're not already in the Facebook group, get in there. We just did our very first Facebook Live with me. So all the women in there got to ask me questions live. There are a ton of benefits in there. So get on in, and I will see you next week. I hope you enjoyed today's show. If you loved it, I hope you'll leave me a review and share with your friends. If you're interested in learning more about my course, Heal Your Breakup, where I take you step by step through my entire healing process, you can find more info at my website, breakupbestie.com. And if you're new, don't forget to join our private Facebook group so you can connect with other women going through the same thing and seek support. You can search Breakup Bestie Support Group on Facebook to join. Lastly, if you're not already following me on Instagram, I share new tips and support every single day. You can find me at Your Breakup Bestie. Most importantly, hang in there, stay connected with loved ones, be nice to yourself, and remember, it's all going to be okay. I promise.